Welcome to Innovating Business. My name is Luke Bonner. I am the Senior Economic Development Advisor for the City of Sterling Heights. And also welcome to those of you that are listening to our podcast. Today we have another homegrown, family-owned business in Transpak. We're joined with James Hadel, the president of Transpak. James, welcome.
Thanks for having me.
Thanks for joining us. Give us a little bit of the history of Transpak, where it started from, its roots, and kind of what's going on today.
Sure. Well, first, thanks for having me here today. Appreciate it. Transpak has been around in the city of Sterling Heights since the late 80s. So it's always been family grown and family operated and run. Historically, we've always done all of the owner's manuals portfolios for General Motors vehicles. So we ship about 12 million pieces per year to every GM assembly plant in North America, including Canada, Mexico, and more recently, the Central America and Caribbean market. However, over the last year and a half, we've added significant growth in business. We've taken the company from 25 employees and about 40,000 square feet of warehouse and distribution space to north of 65 employees and 2 facilities that are 170,000 square feet. So we've grown. The city of Sterling Heights has helped us grow and expand as well. And we're happy to be here in the Detroit area, close to all the major OEMs. A lot of what we do is we support the supply chain. So we do a lot of kitting and light assembly work. And what I mean by that is we may receive goods from 4 or 5 different suppliers, and then we kit them together and ship on their behalf to all the assembly plants. Additionally, for some of the new business is we work with a lot of overseas suppliers who manufacture overseas, whether it be in China or India, and ship over in bulk in expendable packaging. We may receive 2 to 3 months worth at a time of certain products, and then we have to transition them out of expendable cardboard into returnable dunnage that's owned by the OEMs and shipped to the assembly plants just in time.
So I want to shift a second here on the conversation and go more towards sort of talent. Before we started taping, we were talking about just the difficulty. That's a good thing for the economy. We're almost at full employment, but it's also difficult to continue to grow when you're trying to find people when people aren't there. So give us a little bit of an insight, and I've been through your plant before. I mean, you're bringing people in from all over Metro Detroit to come work for you, of all different ethnicities and races and cultures and backgrounds. So you got a very unique workforce, I would say. So tell us some things in particular that Transpak is doing to kind of recruit people, to bring them in, and then from a culture perspective, what are you trying to do from your culture to kind of, as difficult as to attract people, it's also just as hard to retain people because they're all being recruited ultimately by everybody else.
Exactly. Yeah, I think that's probably one of our biggest challenges as we grow and expand. You know, I think every business owner is struggling with it. If they say they're not, I don't know what they're doing or what secret sauce they have. But when we went from 25 employees to 65, that was definitely a challenge. There's some turnover that happens, but historically at Transpak, we've had very good retention. There's some people in the warehouse that have been there 18, 20 years, which is great, and we're all about that. We really try to reward people that are there every day and really working hard, evaluate it more than once a year. We're also putting in some different perks for the employees too. So whether it be, a lot of people offer, benefits, medical and dental. We have a nice benefit plan for the employees. But also, like one of the things I was mentioning to you is we're putting just a few ellipticals and a treadmill in the building as a way to help retain people. The way we've recruited, we actually worked with some of the Michigan programs that I know you turned me on with. We had some on-the-job training that we worked with. We worked with Michigan Works, which was great. So that definitely helped. It wasn't the main driver per se, but every little bit helps when you're growing from 25 employees to 65 in a year to a year and a half.
Right. And your employees are a huge part of your success. Clearly one of the things that you guys like to promote is quality. And you literally have 0 parts per million deficiencies in the work that you're putting together. So talk a little bit about company quality, how you stay on top of that, and how important it is to have the right people involved to making sure that quality is kind of consistent throughout the operation.
Definitely. That's actually a really good point. The people are key. I mean, I couldn't be here right now if I didn't have people that I trust running the business. And that's just critical. It also goes into training and staffing too, though. We have making sure you have processes and procedures that are robust enough to handle the turnover that's eventually going to happen in the warehouse. We have robust training manuals for each different position within the warehouse. And then we have specific process and procedures it's a quality certification to be a Tier 1 supplier, but to be TS 16949 certified, you have internal audits and audits throughout the year that check your processes and procedures to make sure everything that's ultimately going to a GM, Ford, or Chrysler is top-notch quality. So that's something we really pride ourselves on. We'll probably ship about 30 million pieces annually this year. I could count the quality issues on one or two hands, which is very impressive. A lot of that too is due to a proprietary barcode scanning system that we have to help control inventory, both incoming and outgoing, but also kind of the work in progress, taking raw components, turning them into finished goods. The barcode scanning system helps tremendously.
So real quick question on the barcode scanning system. So that includes both software, a handheld device, and labeling. So are you guys doing all of that internally? You're writing your own software, you're putting together your own handheld devices and everything? Is it start to finish on that, or do you contract any of that work out?
We do actually. We have two different IT individuals. One's more of a hardware individual for the scanners or barcode printers, and the other one's software for this proprietary ERP or MRP system that we use. But they work together seamlessly. And once again, I mentioned the people, the staff. I couldn't have done it without those two guys. While during this growth, we moved buildings and we acquired another building, and getting that infrastructure all up and running and having the two buildings talk to each other. Right. So if you scan something in at one facility, it shows up in the inventory report and they link together. So those guys were critical. They're independent contractors of ours. Okay. But during the growth and expansion, they were almost like a full-time employee.
Right. Which IT employees by themselves are even more difficult to find than anybody else. Exactly. Becoming unicorns today. You have your main facility in Sterling Heights. What other facilities do you have, either in Michigan or outside of Michigan?
Yeah, so the other facility we have is up in Schwartz Creek, which is just west of Flint. Right. There's a 70,000 square foot facility we have there with 3 full-time employees. That's where we primarily receive all of our raw goods. The reason why we set up receiving there was to help handle FIFO, which is first in, first out, which is also a very critical part. We talk about quality, but using the oldest material in your warehouse first is critical. That way, if there is a quality issue at the manufacturing site overseas, we can isolate a certain date range and quality hold that product. So we receive it all over in Schwartz Creek. Okay. It's 70,000 square feet of simply just warehousing, and then we transfer it down ourselves down to our main facility here in Sterling Heights, and that's where the repack or light assembly work and specific labeling occurs.
Okay. Put your economist hat on for a second. Obviously,
Try my best.
We've seen incredible growth over the last 5 or 6 years, probably longer than that, last 7 years. We've gotten to a point where I think people have felt so good about where we've been, and when things are good this long, there's always trepidation of, okay, now where are we heading? What do the next 5 years look like? For you guys, in terms of orders, in terms of customers, what are you still seeing out there on the front line of things?
I think we're obviously heavy in the automotive space. While we supply some bearings to Dana and Detroit Diesel in the heavy-duty truck, it's still automotive-based. On the automotive side, we're coming off record years. I mean, you wouldn't know it by looking at GM and Ford stock price. Right. But record years, they're doing great, but also record volumes on cars built here in the U.S. And like you said, how long is that going to last for? I wish I knew the answer to that, or had a crystal ball to look at it. Unfortunately, we don't. I think that the volumes will come in or go down slightly. They just have to stay at approximately 17 million vehicles here in the U.S. each year will be too difficult. But I was reading an article the other day, though, too, about Harvey with all the flooding in Texas, and now Irma down in Florida. There's significant car damage. One report was saying it could be close to 4 million cars damaged that need to be replaced. So that's actually a bullish sign and a good sign for the Detroit area here. But I also think on the automotive industry, you know, we talk about self-driving cars and everything else in the office too. You know, what impact is that going to make on the automotive industry and specifically the Detroit area? I think that the autonomous cars, I think they're a little further out than people think, but what will that do to annual volumes? If we're building 17 million cars a year now, does that number go to 10? How can we be positioned for it? A car for a lot of people is the second most expensive thing they buy behind their house, and it sits not being used 98% of the time while they're sleeping, they're working, etc. So how to be positioned for that is important, thinking ahead, but at the same time, there's not much you can do if it goes automatic driving cars. But it's something we need to be thinking about.
How would that, aside from volumes, how would that sort of go in line with your business? Do you see, would that change your business at all in terms of, you know, if more cars were autonomous and connected?
The owner's manuals, maybe they get smaller, maybe they get bigger. I think they'll always be there. They're a critical part for the car and for safety and warranty regulations with the federal motor vehicle safety standards. But a lot of the other components we supply are center caps. A lot of people don't know what they are, but they go into the center of the hub where it says Ford or has a Chevy bow tie. Whether the car's self-driving or not, it's going to need a center cap, which is good. But at the same time, if you're not growing every day, you're dying in a business. So, you know, that's really what we want to do. We want to continue to grow and expand. So if the volumes do go down, well, hey, now we're supplying something else or a higher volume, a different commodity or a different part on the vehicle. So that's part of the reason, even, you know, why we're here today too. I want to get the word out there about Transpak. A lot of people in the community probably have never heard of us. Even though we've been here for 30 years in the city of Sterling Heights, we're still a small family business. But at the same time, we have a system that works very well from a quality standpoint. And we're looking to grow and expand at all times.
And you're still hiring. Exactly.
So, like I said, that's been a challenging part. So, you know, looking to hire people in quality, looking to hire people as supervisor positions across the board. So,
well, thanks for joining us. I know the city is very appreciative of you being here over the years and growing and continue to grow. And we look forward to it. So thank you.
Thank you. I appreciate being here.
Thanks.